All right, everyone, welcome. We're going to work through some of these questions here today on text completion. So I'm here on the majortests.com website. The text completion is the first quiz, practice test 1. So we'll jump right in. With his sub-4-minute mile, Bannister broke a psychological barrier and inspired thousands of others to attempt to overcome seemingly blank hurdles. So, what do we think this may be? Remember what I told you. First of all, we're going to use the paper. Number 2, we're going to try to cover up the answer choices until we have a chance to sort of get an idea about what we think the sentence should say. So here's my scratch paper. You'll see I went with, I just wrote down the word impossible. I said I think impossible probably goes there. Remember not to spend too much time really trying to come up with a word even, and don't try to come up with a really special or extraordinarily specific word. You just want to try to get something in the general direction to get you go ahead and started, to get you to go ahead and get started on your answer choices so you can move on to the next question. Remember, you're not trying to make significance or learn from this question. You're just trying to earn the points and move on. So what I put down was impossible. So then I evaluate the answer choices. Insurmountable, does that go with impossible? Yeah, sure, that can go with it. So I'll put a check there and I'll say that's what I'm going to consider. Inane, no, that's not, that doesn't seem to go with it, so I crossed it off. Trivial, no, that's not the same as impossible. Traumatic, I mean, I guess a hurdle, maybe, but that doesn't really seem to go with seemingly traumatic hurdles. That doesn't seem to go well. And ineffable seems to go against the feel of the sentence. So this one was actually pretty simple. As long as you know what these words mean, and obviously you have to be working on your vocabulary, but as long as you know what they mean, then you've got it. You've ruled out everything else. I mean, we weren't completely and totally really sold on insurmountable, but the rest of them didn't go at all. So A is the best choice. So you can get that one and move on. All right. Rix has written extensively not only on the poetry of such blank figures in English poetry as Milton and Houseman, but also on the less obviously blank lyrics of Bob Dylan. Now remember, cover up, do your best to absolutely cover up the answer choices until you've had a chance to write down and get an idea about where you think it's going. So again, doesn't have to be a special word. I wrote down big. The poetry of such figures in English poetry as Milton and Houseman. Again, don't spend too much time on it, so I just wrote down big. I thought that was the best one we could go with. And then the next one, the less obviously something lyrics of Bob Dylan, that was a little tougher. I wasn't exactly sure what that one was going to say right there for that blank. So I just actually wrote down a question mark at first. I wasn't positive. I thought once I get the first word, then maybe I'll have something against which I can compare to get the second word. So, taking my first word, big, I looked at the answer choices. Obscurantist, no, that's not what we're going for here. Arcane, I mean, while some Old English or Middle English poetry can be considered arcane in that some of the vocabulary is a lot different from what we're familiar with, I wouldn't say that that's what we're talking about here. And although I don't know much about Houseman, I do know a little bit about Milton. I wouldn't say arcane. So established, as far as what we're thinking it should be, big, established is the closest to it. Obscurantist, no. Arcane is not what we're talking about. So established is the best choice we're left with. So established figures. Okay, that tells me a little bit more. That gives me a little bit more to go on. So now look at the second part of the sentence. Not only those established figures in English poetry as Milton and Houseman, but also on the less obviously, Okay, well I've got established. So he's saying not only this, but also the less obviously this. So, important. You can even, kind of put in established again. But I said important, and so they're drawing they're using the first part of the word to go with to get the second. So I said important. So I worked through the answer choices. Canonical could work, maybe, yeah. Popular, that goes with established, but I don't think that's really what they're talking about here. It's less obviously. Bob Dylan's very popular. And then judicious just doesn't seem to go with it. So once we kind of use our process of elimination, rule out E and F, D is our best choice. Canonical, yeah, that works. Canonical lyrics of Bob Dylan.